Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everybody. My name is Balinder Walia, and today I've got something very interesting for you guys in this video. So we're going to cover various topics, but in the end, you will understand this video is about managing the whole software lifecycle for any particular application using the best practices, DevOps, SRE, QA, and getting your product updates and changes out there in the market real fast and following the best practices and security practices. In this video, we're going to use a PHP framework application, CI4 application called Web Impetus. This is a business management open source product, which you will see in this demo quite a few times. And we're going to deploy all the environments possible. If you think about a life cycle of a software, developers develop the code, they have a repository, they push the code into their own branch, feature branch, or bug fixes, whatever, and then eventually they merge into main, and then the 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 various branches get tested, and main branch gets deployed to a environment, particularly test or acceptance. And if everything is working fine and it's past the QA, then that can be easily auto deployed to the production. In this video, we're also going to use quite a variety of tools. Rancher Desktop, which is the actual Kubernetes, single node Kubernetes on my Macintosh. And it's a fully fledged cluster, Kubernetes cluster, K3s cluster by Rancher. It allows you to test various different versions of Kubernetes and play with Helm charts and YAML files. And we're also going to let's look at what else we got. We will use terminal, of course, where we will use all our Git commands. We will use Visual Studio Code for our code, to making changes to the code. And we're going to also possibly, if we get time, to go through various environments and manage the whole process. So let's get started. So I already have a branch started and I'm making some changes in it. So let's actually add this file and get started from so I was making acceptance file, acceptance environment file, values file, Helm values file, updated. Okay, so we will do the push and then we'll start again from the main branch. And this I can merge in main. Let's merge in main so we can get a clean head start. And I was working on some workflows. And okay, let's just, it doesn't matter for this demo to actually update the documentation. Okay, so we should have everything in main. And let's check out the main branch now. And we'll do git pull. And we will also do git fetch just to make sure we have all the changes, the metadata. And let's look at the product itself, the code base. So as I mentioned, it's a CI4 project. You have usual app, public, system, and test folder, and we have some workflows in GitHub Actions, which we will go through in a minute. We will actually use this in action. We have Docker Compose, which builds the image, Docker image using Docker, or Nerdkernel. I'm using Nerdkernel, which is shipped with Rancher. And we have the Helm chart. We're going to use Helm to deploy our development environment and test environment and acceptance environment and production all the way through the life cycle of a normal software development for the dev teams and for the business. So this video also will cover DevOps, so the best practices from dev all the way to the production. So for developers, it's also valid for developers, and also this is also really good showcase for all these different tools and technologies to for the businesses to showcase how the latest technology can be used with various combination of tools and technologies can be used to really streamline your software development processes. So you can keep your developers happy, your QA team happy, and you can spin up a environment anytime very, very quickly, which we will also go through. And you can keep and your end users happy and the business stakeholders happy. So it's all about streamlining, saving time, getting out in the market faster. And so okay, let's get started. It's a couple of introduction to the files we have. Obviously CI4, the GitHub Actions, DevOps folder has this chart. Helm chart has all the templates and all the values files, which we will be manipulating in case we get some time to create a new environment from scratch. Some sample files. And the sample environment files, they are also useful to look at the start, because these are the environment files for CI4 where we can define our environment variables. Sorry. So let's look at the sample file here, just so because environment variables are very important in this demo, because using environment variables we can spun up different environments, and actually I will show you the environments file here on the GitHub. It's easier. So we will also look at this file, which will allow us to define the S3 bucket integration with Amazon, um, and the database connection. We will also have that on the fly configured, and we will use a tool called kubectl from Bitnami to to encrypt all our secrets, and then we can um, actually commit those into GitHub without security issues. And in this video, we will also cover various different clusters. The K3s cluster on local Macintosh is called K3s Rancher Desktop, but in real production we are using AWS K3s. So also a test environment we have on a Namecheap dedicated server, so that is also using an environment called test. And we can deploy this application to multiple Kubernetes clusters as well. And in the end, basically following this README as well, you can achieve the same. But the purpose of this video is to make sure you understand the whole process really well. And in the end, if everything is working, fingers crossed, it's a live demo, then you should see this page, which is the application, Web Impetus application itself. Workstation is the brand name or the SaaS version for it, and it's still rapidly under development, but we are making efforts to get the first release out of the market very, very quickly. And but anyway, the point of this video is really just to see how a CodeIgniter application can be deployed in Kubernetes very, very fast. So let's get started. So we will have a look at the dev files again. So we have the Helm chart. So we will be using Helm chart in this demo, and we already have a pre-written script called Web Impetus Kubernetes install. So we can use that to install this on our local cluster first. So let's first look at what we already have in Kubernetes. Now, one of the dependencies or prerequisites for this demo to work is you must have a MySQL or MariaDB or RDS Aurora up and running already, and we have that running, so I can show it to you using Workbench. You can use obviously any utility, but if we log into, oops, I need to forward the port. Yeah, let's forward the port because MySQL in local cluster is also running in Kubernetes using the official operator from Oracle. So let's log in into the system now. So as you can see, I already have a web impetus underscore dev database with all the table and let's look at the contacts table. We have some sample data in there as well. Okay, so we already have the MySQL database and we want to use the prerequisite previously written, the script to install on our local cluster. And this is the bash script, which is very configurable, and it's also used by the GitHub workflow actions to deploy into the real clusters. So let's have a look at the, as you see, we have GitHub actions. They are also deploying this application to the test cluster. And if you want to deploy a fresh installation of CodeIgniter 4, you can also do that. You can just replace the CI4 folder here with your own application and define the env files as per the following instructions in this video, and also readme. So readme also covers all these the steps except the kubectl, but I will create a separate uh, um, video or a readme manual how to use kubectl in a different video. So so as I said, I already have installed MariaDB or MySQL using MySQL operator in my local cluster Rancher. So as you can see, it's already running for nearly 3 days. And I'm going to actually, before installing, I'm going to check what we have. Helm, if I can type today, Helm install, and the namespace I'm using in this case is dev, and the installation I have the WSL, which stands for Workstation Solutions Limited, the company name in the sample in this case we're using. And so we have already an application deployed. So we can uninstall this first so that we have a fresh install. And if we go to our web browser, you have this application running and it has already been deployed once. And now it will be removed, and you can see, and it's not going to be available anymore. So if we check, the installation is not available, and the pods in the dev, there's no pods in the dev environment. And if we go to the browser, this will give you usually error. Okay, so let's get started, and we will follow these README instructions and run this bash file. And in this script, we'll first, using the base image, using OpenResty and PHP, which is freely available image on Docker Hub, created by me, compiled from source, and it's pre-ready, so it's a speed up is the first base image. And then what it does is it pulls that image from Docker Hub and then creates a new image with your CI4 code in it. So it copies the code, and you can look at this process in the Docker file yourself, where we copy and all that. But it then actually, let's go and look at that. Try to look as much as we can. So one of these base image is built from OpenResty and PHP 7.5 4 or 8, all these different versions you can use. The main image is there, and let's look at the Docker file. In this case, I think it's this is the Docker file. Yeah, there you go. So it uses the base image, which is the latest, and you can pass different tag if you want to try maybe beta version or a stable image or a different tagged image, base image of OpenResty and PHP. This has PHP 8 precompiled, but that can also be changed very, very easily while building this process. So you can change the PHP version or OpenResty version in Nginx, which is basically Nginx. And then here it copies the default Nginx server host and the main Nginx file, which is also in the config directory here. And you can see the vhost, Nginx main file, and it's a usual standard, and also the default web impetus with default domain, but it will also copy your own domain file from the Helm charts, so you can have multiple servers here. So in the config map, I've also got the your own host file for the Nginx deployed from your values file, because of course you can have different hosts for your different different environments. So let's have a look at that. If we have the okay, it's still building the image, and it says now it's got to the stage where it does the Helm install or upgrade. Well, okay, so we haven't got this application earlier, so it is going to say revision 1, and Helm is going to install, and let's watch our cluster. And as you can see, it's creating WSL dev, and we'll give it a few minutes to spun up, pull the images, latest images from the private repository registry, Docker registry, because the base image is the one which is freely publicly available, but the process builds a private image with our own application and Nginx configurations and the default settings as well. So that builds a Docker image, and that is pushed into our own repository private. So okay, now it seems like we have 2 pods running. So I've got 2 replicas minimum. So if we check our dev values file, there should be replicas here somewhere. There you go, minimum replicas 2. So I've got the 2 pods running here. So if you do get pods again, let's clear the terminal to have a good look. Yeah, you see 85 seconds ago, 2 pods started, and it automatically spun up the open the browser window, and if I now want to log into my the new dev environment, I can log in, and there is a MySQL database already existing in this cluster. So there you go. And what is interesting is that this creates the version number based on the timestamp. So I am in the Brussels time zone today. So 2022, 28th of November. And this is 8 o'clock in the 8/12/2019. So it's yeah, so it's I think 1 hour behind this time, but on the server, but actually just was updated a couple of minutes ago. So now we have the application deployed in dev, and let's say we want to now make a change. So there are many ways, obviously, you can work with the pods, and the pods these days are, as you know, are um, are everywhere. So you can actually oops, 1 second. Let me try. Is it double IT? No. Um, why cannot I cannot log into? Okay. So kubectl exec, so we can go into the pod and okay. I have to Okay, there is at least one command for the container. I've got two containers in there. So we have to define the shell. Duh. Okay, so now I'm inside the pod and we can look at this directory. It's deployed, and if we do pwd, and if we look at our env file here, this is deployed from the configuration manager automatically, and um, the MySQL cluster host name, database, username, password. This is all local anyway on my computer, so it's going to connect. And as you can see, it's connecting fine. So let's quickly log in again, and you can see all the data, which test data we have in the local cluster. So same way, you can create a new environment file for your different environments. This is for the dev, and now you can either develop or make changes from the pod. So these days, it's a latest trend to develop within the pod, or you can actually just make a change and redeploy using the same command we did, and then it will deploy the latest change here. So I'm going to, just for the sake of convenience, I'm going to change something. So let's actually, to make it really easy for everybody, let's make a change here. Let's say I want to make a powered by, and I want the copyright in the next line. Sorry, this K3s Rancher, I want to add another space here just to reflect the change. So I'm going to footer, find all the footer. Actually, I'm going to find a string where all it's used. There you go. So inside CI4, app folder, views, common, sorry, oops, and footer copyright. Here we go. So here we will add a line after all rights reserved. So let's have a look, where is all rights reserved, and we're only using it one place. So instead of just simple space, we will add a break here. So this is the change, just to test the reflect that the system will work. So obviously we want to test it in our local environment first. So we will rerun the deployment script, and it will rebuild the Docker image, because in dev environment we get a fresh image every time, because we want to copy the fresh changes in our source code from the GitHub or local directory into the Docker image, and then we deploy it, and it will hopefully redeploy our application soon. So while it's deploying, I am going to go through the entire DevOps CI/CD pipelines with you. And so let's have a look at, so we got the dev, we will have the dev, and then eventually we will deploy the same change in the test environment, which is running in another K3s cluster inside Amazon K3s. And one of the other things I wanted to mention, that all the secrets, all the kube configs, everything is it's inside the GitHub Actions, so it's all safe, and we are just referring that in our workflows and in our scripts whenever we make a change and merge to main branch. We auto deploy, but the secrets are safe. So we protect the database credentials in our values files by kubectl, using kubectl. And if you look at the test environment in AWS, you will see the domain here for the ingress, Nginx ingress. You'll see the port numbers and the service for the port number. But we also got the CDN at the front, so we don't see this port number. It's hidden. It's the origin port number. But all the host name, database credentials are encrypted and safe. And if you do not know anything about kubectl, I suggest you go and have a look online for kubectl, how to secure your credentials and certificates using kubectl. Excuse me. So, okay, it's deployed the revision number 2, and let's open the window just to get the events and see what okay, let's get the pods first. The dev. Oops, my keyboard is a bit weird. Okay, it's 54 seconds ago redeployed. So if I refresh, hopefully it will add a space in the... Oh, okay, it did not work. Ah, it did work here. Here's caching. Oh no, I'm on the test environment. Sorry, it's cache. It's not caching. Here you go. So we got that extra break here, and now it shows the environment, the target cluster we have, and dev environment, and change timestamp. This is very interesting. You see, at 8 o'clock, 19 minute and 49 seconds, this was deployed. So this is deployed at yeah, 8 o'clock, 8:19 p.m. 49 seconds. So that change has worked. As you can see, there's extra break here. And so now we have this change, which let's say we want to push that change so we will add, let's say we add CI4, yeah, and we will do git commit, let's say, I don't know, footer made look more easier to read, footer changed, footer change, so it is easier to read environment and cluster info. Okay, so we will push that change. I think that's the branch I'm in the main branch. So, oh, okay, I'm not going to push that change yet. So let me go back to, let me go to, because I want to create a new branch. I don't want actually to, so 1 second, let's git stash all my changes. And I'm going to do git pull again and metadata. Okay, git fetch, because obviously, okay, now I'm going to do git checkout. Let's create a new branch, feature branch, footer changes or whatever. Okay. Oh, I think I messed up the GitHub. Oh, so let's see where we are. We're in the main branch and nothing to commit. Yes, that's fine. And I have a typo here. That's why it's not working. I want to create a new branch. So now the changes I want to make are should be in the new branch. So we haven't changed anything else except the footer. I think okay, let's just change something else, and I will say let's see what else can we change here. Workstation powered by web impetus, all rights reserved, rancher dev environment. Okay, let's just add the web impetus version number. So let's add a little v so we are very clear about what is happening here. So powered by, and then web impetus, and app deployed at. So here is the URL, and here is little. Let's add a little v here. So okay, so now we will do git add, git commit, and git push, and oh, I changed the branch name to, I forgot to change that. Okay, now we have that, and I'm going to check out main again because I'm not going to make any changes. And yeah, so let's park this for the moment. And also, I want to go to my GitHub, and here's our new changes. Let's have a look at, let's create a PR actually. Just go through the whole life cycle. And the one file changed. Yeah, I agree with this change. And plus, also I agree with this V, a little V. I like that. Means stands for version, right? This is just to demonstrate the capabilities of the system. So I want this PR now, and I want to go through the entire process, merged into main. And by the way, as soon as it's merged into main, it also starts the GitHub auto deploy workflow, which is another thing I wanted to show. So as soon as we make a change or any change in main branch or merge anything into GitHub main branch, it builds the Docker image using GitHub Actions latest Ubuntu runner, and then it's using the same Helm commands it deploys to our test environment. So actually, if we just give it a bit of time and look at this timestamp, and once it's deployed on the test cluster, so let's log into our test cluster, and it's called K3S Edge 1. There you go. And if we look at the, oops, it's not in the dev namespace, it will be test namespace. And we can see that 25 minutes ago we deployed a test environment, but once the workflow is finished, we can check actually what stage it is. It's building the image at the moment, the Docker registry. And it will, let's put this on watch. So we can just watch the pods, and the pod will change. And also I want to redeploy on dev as well, my dev cluster, all my changes, latest changes. So yeah, there you go. So let's do that as well. So while we're doing that, and while the workflow is running and workflow is busy running and building on GitHub, deploying to the test as well. So now this version is merged to main and automatically deployed to test, and we can actually see in the deployment in GitHub that when we do the Helm deploy, it should show the revision and the domain name. There you go. So it's the 38th revision, and if we refresh this, we should see that. You see that little V here now. So our changes worked. Voila, and or Bob's your uncle, whatever. And now, so we're following. You see, we're following throughout the life cycle of a software development and deployment release. So now the QA can QA can test it on this test environment, and then it can be promoted to acceptance environment in the same way. I will cover the acceptance environment from creating from scratch, or any new environment creating from scratch, just by adding a values file for the Helm chart, and then just creating a new environment and deploying to any new cluster or any existing cluster. And you can have multiple environments in the same cluster as well. So the other thing is, whenever the deployment happens, in the Slack, we get the notification. 2 minutes ago, we get the notification that Bvalia, that's my name, made a change in the GitHub, and you can see that we have changed the footer, and with the two of their changes are there. So QA is informed that, hey, something has changed in our new pipe, in the new test environment, and you can go ahead and test, approve, and go through the process. And so finally, if QA passed in the test environment, we can easily go and run the workflow manually to promote it to production. So we'll follow the same process, and the production is running on without test prefix, just running on this domain. As you can see, this is still old version. And let's go and check the production cluster. And on the same cluster, you see the production namespace. The pod is running for 26 hours ago when it was last released to production. And we can put it on the watch again until the production is of our workflow is finished and deployed to the production environment. So you see you're following the entire lifecycle development and then release management as well in the same using the same technology. And that can benefit a lot when the teams are working in a very busy environment. You want to rapidly get things out of the market, out the door. And this now dev environment is re-released because I pressed to release Helm again. And now we'll just watch the development for the production while waiting. And we still have the pipeline running. So while this is running, creating the Docker image building and all that, let's go back into this CodeIgniter again. So if you create your own CodeIgniter or Laravel or WordPress or any other PHP application and deploy that folder into the source code using the Docker image into your image, it will deploy and you can control everything from your Nginx configuration of your new site, and you can of course deploy multiple sites. So let's go to config. Where is that? There you go. So you can add a new config for Nginx. You can actually do it via, as I said before, for config map as well. So the domains change automatically, and same Helm command can be used to deploy to many different environments. So again, when the production is changed, we get a Slack message notification. Again, you see, just got 9:31, which is just a minute ago. And if you look at it now, this means this is deployed. This change is now, or commit rather, is now on production. And we can verify if we go to production, refresh this page, you should see, there you go, that little V and that extra break, and your software is rapidly deployed, continuously deployed. So we have covered the entire life cycle of a software development and using the latest technology, cloud native technologies, Helm chart, Kubernetes, cluster. You don't have any servers to manage. You don't have to worry about scaling up and down. You can scale the replicas for your environment very easily. If the traffic on your site starts to grow, you can have multiple replicas. As you can see in this deployment, if I click here, minimum 2, but you can just easily scale to 3 and in your development environment, but you can do in your production, and now it's gonna run 3, and your environment will continue to if you go back to dev, it'll just continue to keep running, and there you go. And in this way, you have fully automated the workflow using the workflow, GitHub workflow, and the local environment deployment, the change management, and different teams can use the same framework and the same code base for the local deployment into Kubernetes. They can develop using a developer pod. So there are developer pods. We went through the final test pods and production pods, and those pods can have different configuration. So we have covered Docker, building Docker image, deploying your software to various different Kubernetes clusters, and finally managing the entire change in the QA and the entire release management of your software. So we can even just now go to releases and say, okay, I'm happy with it. It's released to production, and I will go back to releases and draft a new release. We will call it choose a tag 101 already exists, and so we will call it um, actually we can, we can do the release management later, but you got the message that we just released a version. So, and then that can generate a documentation, and you can update the documentation, and your end users can easily see what's changed if your documentation website is updated. So I hope this video makes sense to you. And one more thing I just wanted to cover, that in our demo, you see this test domain, and we have a CDN running. So this is our cluster, where we can actually go and check as well, directly as well. So there you go. This is our Kubernetes cluster, but there's a CDN at front, Varnish, our Nginx, which terminates the TLS using the Let's Encrypt automatically. So you don't have to worry about the security and the TLS certificate management automatically, and it proxy passes the traffic to your test environment running in Kubernetes from your CDN to the origin, and using efficiently Unix sockets for Nginx and Varnish, and caching the static sites. So that's very useful, obviously. And you can just press a button and it will update all your sites in a single batch to production or test or dev. And that's also something I wanted to cover. So dev, test, acceptance, production, the entire life cycle managed in this video, and hopefully that will keep your developers and your business and yourself happy. And thanks for your paying attention to this video, and hope you enjoy it. Please like the video. Please also feel free to sign up and contact me. The details are in this repository. I will put in the comments below on the YouTube or Vimeo, where you can contribute to, if you're a developer, if you know how to code, you can make this product better as well. You can contribute to this new emerging software but called Web Impetus. And I thank you once again for paying attention. Cheers.